Welcome students to a video tutorial for mobile app development. Today we are looking at setting up our setting up a mobile app with Flutter, and there are some steps to kind of go through, and I've created this video just in response to student requests, and this will be part of our code lab that I have issued for marks. So in today's code lab, we're going to be looking at creating a new project folder through the terminal, opening up the file explorer and making sure we have that project folder open in the explorer, and then just setting up some tips and tricks with just setting up a basic Flutter app, and that's what we're going to go through today. So the code lab itself is going to be just setting up a basic Flutter application. So what I'll expect from students is just working code that is outlined in the video today. Okay. All right, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to have VS Code open, and we want to have a new terminal open. So I'm zoomed in a little bit, but you can just go to the menu bar and then open a new terminal. And once you get the terminal open, you want to make sure that you're in the actual directory, the working directory. See here, I'm actually in a previous project, and I don't want to. I want to actually be in the desktop. So we're going to do the cd command ... And CD, of course, stands for change directory. And when we when we type in 2 dots, that means we're going backwards, okay, or to the parent directory. In this case, desktop, and that's exactly where I want to be. The next step here is we're going to type in Flutter create. Okay, this is how we create a new project. And we're going to have a flag here, and that's -e. And what that does is it creates a new Flutter project, but it does it without the template code that Flutter gives you with the counter. We don't want that. We just want a empty app project that we can work with. Okay, so Flutter create -e, and then the project name. So we're going to go Flutter _ basic layout. And you got to be careful here, because what happens is when you go to create the actual project folder, or project name rather, it has to be all lowercase, and there can be no spaces. So I typically just use underscores. Okay, once that's done, just hit enter, and you can see Flutter is working to create the project folder, and it is complete. So now that the project folder is complete, I want to navigate into the project folder from my terminal, and we're going to go cd flutter _ basic _ layout. Okay, and enter. And now I can confirm visually that I'm inside the project folder. The next step is to navigate into the project folder from the Explorer. So when we open up the Explorer here on the left, I actually have a prior project, and I'm looking at a prior project, and we don't want that. So let's go to File and Open Folder, and I'm going to go into, I don't think you're going to see it, but File, Open Folder, and then select the folder that you just created. Okay, and that's Flutter _ basic layout. Okay, and it gives you this kind of thing, this layout. So not only am I in the project folder in the terminal, but I'm also in the project folder in the Explorer, and I can verify it with a name here. Okay, so the root of the project is Flutter basic layout folder, and I have all my starter files. Okay, and I have this welcome screen, which I can just exit out of, okay, because I won't need that. So where the app essentially lives in a Flutter project is the lib folder. And now we talked about in class what these other folders and files do, and we'll briefly go over it again. So these are all the accompanying files that are used to compile to respective operating systems like Android, iOS, Linux, Mac OS, Web, Windows, and so on. Okay, so when we Flutter's really capable that way, where we can compile our code to all those formats. Down below we have a git ignore file, which when we're pushing code to GitHub, we can throw in our folder names or file names that we don't want to push in there, and that's very handy. And then the other files, these other ones, we're not going to be concerned about except the pubspec YAML. So as discussed in class, this is the equivalent of our package.json file, but it's a YAML, so it's not YAML stands for, again, it ain't markup, it ain't y'all, it ain't a markup language or something similar to that. And a YAML file here in this context in Flutter is a setup file. So we have all of our dev dependencies listed. We have our version of the project, which is 1. We have the name and the description of the project, as well as the SDK version and our dependencies. And you can see we have the Flutter lint, which is a code debugger, and we're using the material design package that's built in. Okay. So we're going to head into the lib folder, and that's where our main application lives. And from here, we want to open up, let's go to the right side and open up our emulator. So it's common practice to open up the cold boot emulator. And what that does, it essentially starts the phone. So you're running an actual phone operating system on your computer, and that's why it demands so much memory resources. Cold boot is just like starting a phone from scratch. And I recommend that just because if you don't cold boot it, then you'll have instances where it doesn't even load properly. So just always cold boot it, get that started. It does take a bit, so I recommend getting that started as soon as you can, and then you're ready to go once it's loaded up. Okay. All right, so looking at the main Dart file, this is our code right here, and we have our material Dart import. So this gives us access to material design items like, you know, icons, fonts, things like that. Material design, again, is a package from Google. It's part of sort of the Android design philosophy as far as icons, dialog boxes, things like that. Okay. Apple, so Apple's design philosophy would fall under Cupertino. So Cupertino icons and things like that, but since we're developing an Android, we use the material design package. Okay. All right, and you can see on the top right we have our play button. So anytime we want to launch our app, we have to be in the main Dart. Absolutely have to be. Any other file and we won't see that play button. Okay. All right, and okay, I'm just going to make sure this is good. Our emulator is up and running. Let's go over this. So our void main, this should be familiar because we've learned the Dart programming language, and the void main is our launch pad for our app, and you can see our main app is just the class name here, and it extends a stateless widget. So every widget in Flutter is a class, and classes have properties, they have methods, and so on, and that's why you can see this build method here, and we're overriding the build method to build out our scaffold. Okay, so as discussed in class, we have the material app. The material app is the root widget. It stands at the top of the Flutter kind of tree, and you can liken it to the DOM or the document object model in HTML, where the HTML tag is at the top. Here we have the material app, and then we have child elements like scaffold. Scaffold is our basically how we work out our blueprint for our screens in Flutter. Okay, and then we have a hello world message, so we can go ahead and run that. Okay, let's run that. It'll take a little bit here. As that's loading, I do want to discuss a few things. So The material app widget is used for things like home. So we can set the actual page or the class rather. So kind of the same thing of the home, in the home rather. And right now we're returning a widget, which is the scaffold. It has a body and a child text widget. So we should only see a hello world message once that's running right in the middle. And it's centered. But normally when you go to flesh out a larger app, you're going to be returning other things in the material app like routes. So you can set up routes, and it's similar to, you know, a website where you have different routes or pages that you go to that are, found by entering a URL in the browser. We can specify those routes in the material app. The material app also is used for theme data. So there's a theme data widget where we can set primary colors and things like that right from here. Okay. All right. So right now what we're going to do in this code lab is we're actually going to get rid of the scaffold because we're going to create a new class that's stateful, and I just want to show you a trick. So once you delete that, you're going to have some problems here, and that's fine. It's because we're not returning anything. What we can do is actually just return a placeholder widget. And a placeholder widget is just something that, oh whoops, sorry, let's see here. It wanted a comma. Okay. Is just this X here. It's just taking up space, and just like a placeholder would. So we're going to leave that there. You can hot reload it, and we have the result there. But what we're going to do is go below here. And we're actually going to type in the letters STL. So you should have the Flutter extension installed in the Dart language support. If you don't, please double check that. But once you type in STL, we have these options of a stateless or a stateful widget. So a stateless widget, again, is a widget or a class that does not have any dynamic data. So it's mostly just UI elements like buttons and things like that, visual elements that don't change. A stateful widget, on the other hand, gives you access to the setState method. It also has a companion state, and we're going to select that. So you can either click on it or just scroll down and then tab it out. And you can see, don't touch anything. Once you tab it out, it gives you the option to change the name. And that's exactly what we're going to do in 6 spots. Okay, so we're never going to have to type this out over and over again. You can literally just put in STL, and then you can have that template code. So let's do that again. STL. We're going to go stateful widget and tab, and without touching anything, we're just going to have a look at it, and you can see there's cursors in 6 spots. We're going to delete the my class, and we're going to put in home page. Okay, and control save. And that's it, and then click out of it. Perfect. So we have home page, and actually, why is that? Let's try that again. I just have, let's do that again. I think I just, oh, sorry, that was stateful. Go STL, let's go to stateful widget, and then we're going to type in home page and save. Okay. Okay, there should be no red squiggly lines, so if you do see them, just go back and then do it again. Okay, but that's what it should look like. So now I have my home page, and what I can do now is I can go up here to our stateless widget, or root widget, and I can return the home page class and save. Okay, so now I'm returning the main screen, the home page class, and it's a stateful widget, so we have the super key. The super key is used for rebuilding or sequence rebuilding of the widget tree. Right now, for our purposes, we're not going to deal with that or have to use it, but that's something that you're going to see. We have this override method where create state returns a companion class widget that has state, and this is our companion class right here. So this is where we actually build out our app in the companion class. Okay, why is there two classes again? Because we have to maintain the existing state, but we also have to be able to change the state, and that's why there's two. Okay, as opposed to a stateless widget where there's just one state. Okay, because it doesn't change, it's immutable. All right, so we still have the placeholder there because this is still returning a placeholder, but what we're going to do is actually return a scaffold widget. So our scaffold widget is the the main blueprint widget for our application for all of our screens, and you can see now the X has been removed, our placeholder, and now we have this nice scaffold widget. So in this code lab, we're just going to flesh out or build out the bones of an app. Okay, so we're going to start with the app bar, and this takes the app bar widget. Okay, and you can see red here just because there are required fields, and if you're ever wondering what the required fields are, you simply have to hover over it and just read the documentation. So what's it? It's saying that we have to remove this const. So let's remove the const here, and then the error's gone, and you can press Control Save and it'll be gone. Okay, so in this app bar, I typically return things like a row widget or something like that, but we want to change the background color. So I can hover over that, and I can see there's a field called background color. So let's do that, and we're going to set it to colors red. Okay, and Control Save. Every time we save, it hot reloads the screen, and you can see we've built out our app bar color, and that's great, and we're just going to leave it at that. So that is a field of scaffold. If you're ever wondering, okay, so what does the scaffold widget take? Well, the main fields are the app bar, the body, the drawer, and bottom navigation bar. There's also a floating action button. So we're going to do next, we're going to go to the body field. So you can see Flutter gives you comments here. So it's not actual code that you can delete. It's just once you have a widget here, it's going to tell you where it ends. So I'm still in the scaffold widget, and now I want to do the body field. Okay, and in the body, we're just going to have the text field saying hello world, and make sure there's a comma at the end. Okay, and Control Save, and you can see here I have a hello world in my body now. So the body comprises everything on the page for the most part, just like in HTML. We're going to have to change the text here because, as you can see, it's kind of clinging to the edge. So what I want to do is I want to click on the text widget, click right on it, and you can see there's a light bulb that appears on the left. Go ahead and click that, and we're going to wrap it with a centering widget. So this light bulb gives us the ability to wrap any widget with other widgets like padding, container, size box. These are the most common widgets that you'll need. Also, you can remove widgets. You can add custom widgets. So if I click wrap with widget, it's just a generic widget. I can type in the widget that I want. In this case, the centering widget. Or I could have just selected the centering widget. So let me Control Z to go backwards, and we'll do it again. Okay, so I'm going to click on the text widget, click on the light bulb, and wrap with the centering widget, hit Control Save, and now my text is right in the middle. Okay, but you can see that this text is way too small, so we're going to fix that. In the text widget, so inside the text widget, if you put a comma after the first argument here, it's going to actually, and you save it, it's going to put it on a new line. So every comma that you put in there, see how these two parentheses are put together? If I put a comma there and then Control Save, it will start it on a new line. So that's good. These blue squiggly lines, it just means that it wants a constant in the center. If you write constant, those are gone. Okay. All right. So what we want to do, what the challenge is in this text widget, you'll notice that the text size is way too small. So we can actually set that with a text style widget. Okay, and this is part of the text widget. But we have to use what's called the style property. Okay, so after the string, we're going to put in the style property, and then we're going to input this text style class or widget, and this allows us to do things like font size. Okay, if I want the font size at 40, Control save that, and that looks a lot better. Okay. If you hover over the text style widget, well, that's going to give you all the options for text that you can color, font size, background, and so on, height. I'm going to leave it at that because I just want something to fill out the body. Okay, so that's good for the body. So we have the app bar section, which is red. We have the body that's centered with the text widget that's centered in the body. And now we want to create a drawer. So a drawer gives us, Flutter automatically gives us a sandwich bar menu with the drawer. And so that's part of the scaffold. So after the body, we're going to find out where the body ends. So where the centering widget ends. And we're going to put in drawer. And this takes the drawer class widget. Okay, so if you save that, and look at the changes and hot reload, you can see that now we have a drawer. And so this icon's already built in. We don't have to do anything. The class automatically does that. And it gives us that sort of sub-menu or even a profile menu functionality. Okay, nice and neat. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to move on to the last part of this. And this is the bottom navigation bar. Okay, so you can see, note the spelling, it's camel case, always lowercase on the first word, and then the subsequent words are capitalized. This takes in a bottom, we can do bottom app bar, let's see, let's do the bottom app bar. Okay, and save that. And you can see once we save that, we have this kind of gray color on the bottom. That's our bottom app bar. If you hover over the class, it has all these fields that we can do. Typically, you're going to have, things like navigation buttons and things like that. We're going to leave it blank for now. Right now, I just want to show students just the basic layout of an app screen. Okay, so we have the bottom app bar. We're going to leave it like that. We can see the outline and things look good. One more piece that I want to go over is floating action button. Okay, so a floating action button is a button that is off to the bottom right, and it's just an action button that's really easy to get to. You'll have like quick menu items there and things like that, and that's also part of the scaffold. So let's, right after the bottom navigation bar, actually, you know what? Let's leave the bottom navigation bar at the bottom, and right before it, we're going to put in a floating action button. Okay, and this takes in a floating action button widget. Okay, and you can see it has an on press handler, which is required. What we're going to do is just set it to null, okay, and save it. It's not going to do anything. Okay, so here we have our floating action button. Typically it'll have a symbol on it or something, and then when you click it, it leads to some sort of action. Okay, and you can change the colors and things like that. Okay, so right now is just the basic kind of bones of a scaffold app, and you can see we've already taken up quite a bit of the screen. it doesn't take long before you have things crowded, that's for sure. Okay, but we've went over the main kind of segments of the scaffold. These are these components right here. We've gone over how to create stateful and stateless widgets, how they have, two classes, an existing state class and a companion class, and then also how we can use the Material app to launch our pages or our custom classes. Okay. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the code lab. Please save your code. I will be testing your code for marks. So this assignment is for marks. Just make sure you have exactly what I have here. Maybe minus the font size if you have some different for the hello world message. That's okay. All right. So save the file. Just make sure you have your name on it, and we will have that submitted next class. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions or you want to run through things, just go back in the video, pause it, and we'll see you next time.